Ultraman, the famous tokusatsu franchise, has been going pretty strong. Going over 55 plus years, this franchise is based on the concept of alien beings made out of light coming to Earth and defending us from the evil monsters, gigantic monsters known as kaiju. With the new Ultraman Rising movie now out on Netflix, I thought it would be good to talk about some of the things that this franchise has done. The target audience for Ultraman is mainly for kids, but has branched out and catered to the adult fans throughout different mediums. For example, Shin Ultraman, a full-length film released in 2022, retold the story of the original Ultraman through a new lens, but they actually did something similar to this much earlier. In 2011, a manga was created for the Ultraman franchise called, Ultraman. Written by Ichi Shimizu and drawn by Tomohiro Shimoguchi, this seinen series acted as a pseudo-sequel to the first Ultraman series and became a fresh jumping-on point for any newcomer to the franchise. And in 2019, this manga got an anime adaptation by animation studio Production IG, releasing exclusively on Netflix and got 3 full seasons before it finished in 2023. With all the new fans coming to see the cutest movie out this summer, I figured it would be worth it to provide a guide to show them the other big Netflix Ultraman project has to offer. All 3 seasons. Get ready to ascend to the world of light, because this is going to take a hot minute. Hope you enjoy. Let's start with season 1. Okay, so a long time ago, a member of the alien species, the Giants of Light, merged with a human named Shin Hayata, becoming the being known as the hero Ultraman, fighting to protect the world from giant-sized kaiju threats. For about 39 episodes worth of adventures, until that Giant of Light felt his mission was complete and ascended back into space. We then flashed sometime into the future, where Shin and his son, Shinjiro, visit the memorial honoring the Giant of Light. However, this father and son bonding is interrupted when Shinjiro tries to touch one of the displays and ends up falling down several floors. This doesn't result in the tragic ride to the hospital, as Shinjiro is completely unharmed from the experience. Taking his son home, Shin reveals that he also has powers not known to man, even without a giant of light in his body. But he doesn't know why, since he doesn't have any memories of his life as an Ultraman. He talks to one of his former colleagues, Ide, about it. Ide and he both worked for the SSP, the Science Special Search Party, an organization meant to protect the world from alien threats. And even though Ultraman's mission is done, there are plenty of aliens to deal with on Earth. Even more so when Shin sees a video of a terrorist attack on a plane, only clue to the perpetrator being a figure in armor that resembled Ultraman. Seeing the figure causes Shin to regain his memories as Ultraman, with Ide confirming that his genes will change from Ultraman's influence, then passed on to his son. 10 years later, Shinjiro is a teenager now, wanting to deal with teenager problems and not hiding his superpowers problems. There's Reina, this pretty girl that he likes. He tries to help out by dealing with a group of random bullies, but ends up twisting one of their legs. Shinjiro soon goes on top of a billboard to brood about super strength. Poor him. However, as it turns out, the same alien that seemingly attacked the plane 10 years ago has been stalking him all day. The alien, calling himself Bemulon, reveals himself to the teenager, stating that the kind of power Shinjiro has should not be on Earth. Bemulon then attacks, chasing Shinjiro to a nearby stadium. Right as he's about to kill him, Shin suddenly appears, revealing that he was Ultraman and has been fighting Bemulon for the past decade. Before Shinjiro could even process that information, his dad shows off a powered suit that makes him Ultraman-esque but without the cool colors. Tossing his son up like a ragdoll, Shin gets his son to safety before fighting off Bemulon. But despite his combat experience, his suit and his old age aren't good enough to defend from the alien long enough before getting critically injured. Shinjiro is frustrated that he can't help, so Ide provides the boy with his own Ultraman suit. The student then returns to the stadium, happily declaring that this is the first time he can pummel someone without holding back and then transforming into Ultraman. Which, I gotta say, interjecting, this is a pretty good design. Granted, it is a metal suit and it's not an alien like the original Ultraman. It does have the correct color scheme, and with its shape, it does look something that is non-natural, giving it sort of an alien appearance. I approve. Even though his father isn't able to help his son in the fight, Ide gives Shinjiro advice on winning the fight with his own finisher, the Spacium Ray. Bemulon survives the attack but loses his left arm in the process and takes off. Shinjiro loses consciousness from exhausting himself in the fight. Both he and his dad are taken to the SSP hospital. When Shinjiro wakes up, this fancy gentleman with the squid head introduces himself as Ido, a member of the species known as Zeton. Shinjiro listens as both Ido and Ide explain the current state of the world. Earth has made peace with all aliens by signing a deal with an interstellar organization called the Star Cluster Alliance, but there are still threats that need to be dealt with, like Bemulon on Earth. Shin has been working to defend Earth from these threats, but since he's now in the hospital, they ask Shinjiro if he'll take up the mantle as Ultraman in his father's place. After brooding about it for a while, how his powers made everyone fear him, Shinjiro decides to accept, going on various rescue missions to train himself in the art of being Ultraman, from saving truck drivers to resolving hostage situations. All he needs is to grow giant, and he's halfway there to being a real Ultraman. His efforts soon go viral as many people take note of this brand new hero to the scene. While all the civilians love this new Ultraman as he soon becomes a public figure, one of the members of the SSP, MOROBOSHI, comments that Shinjiro is too naive to understand the full scope of their mission. The man doesn't like it, but he's forced to use Ultraman for his first real mission for the SSP, the alien Adakik, a serial killer eating the corpses of humans. When he learns about this, Ultraman furiously charges in, letting the horror of the situation overwhelm him. However, Adek is strong and beating him around and declaring that humans are just food to him and nothing more. He even mocks that Shinjiro is a fake Ultraman. The fight between them soon goes to the streets, which leads to Moroboshi shocked that this could expose the secret of aliens to everyone on Earth. But Ito reassures him that this is one of the SSP's current objectives, so don't worry. Anyway, the fight between Ultraman and Adek lands in a traffic jam where Reina and her manager Shirashi are stuck in. Adek points out that making this fight public wasn't a part of the SSP's original rules and that he is now being used to show off how evil aliens really are. Even with Reina cheering him on, Ultraman isn't able to defeat him properly, claiming that the suit is holding back his combat abilities. So Ito has an idea to release the limiter in his suit, giving him a full 3-minute boost to Ultraman's power, represented by this little light on his suit. With his power unleashed, Ultraman is able to defeat the alien in his big shining debut. As Moroboshi starts the cleanup, Shin, stable enough to walk with a cane, praises his son for his first alien kill. However, Bemula has been watching in the shadows. Since the SSP has now changed the rules with showing aliens in public, it's time he advanced his own plans. This ends the first arc. Overall, it does its job introducing the situation, the hero, and showing him struggle in his first real fight, along with more intrigue as to something coming next. It's good, but it does act a little bit basic. You know, dying mentor. I say dying in quotes because technically Shin is still alive. Hiding superpower shenanigans, etc. The thing is, you're not able to connect with Shinjiro that much since he's not given much personality to work with. He's just your plain average good guy. But the action itself is pretty much good from with the animation style, so it's a start. We then begin the next arc of the series where, as it turns out, Reina is a famous idol, one with lots of fans. So much so that she has gotten death threats from someone named Butter... And those threats have caught the attention of another of Reina's fans, an alien Igaru. Soon, a police detective, Yosuke Endo, and his partner, Kurata, show up in an apartment as they're currently investigating a string of murders, all of them with the victim becoming a bloody splatter on the wall. Welp, that place is never gonna sell. Moroboshi investigates the scene too as the SSP soon realizes that the murders must be the work of an alien. Later on, Shinjiro and Moroboshi engage in a conversation. Shinjiro tries to express his guilt over killing Adakik, but Moroboshi is completely indifferent to it. The man soon takes the kid to an alley, revealing a secret community of aliens who disguise themselves as humans either through shapeshifting or holograms. There, Moroboshi informs Shinjiro of the serial killings and that they're here to meet with a potential informant that could give them more info. That informant is Jack, a boxer beating up aliens for show. Although he doesn't know anything about the case, Jack says he'll keep his ear to the ground and tries to find something out. However, he does know about the Ultraman and learns that Shinjiro is the newest one. Black Kane, the alien that Jack was boxing with earlier, causes a bit of trouble since apparently the original Ultraman killed one of his friends a long time ago. Moroboshi gets him to back off before they start to head back to the human side of the city. Shinjiro asks why Moroboshi involved him in this, where the man reveals that he didn't want to and this was an order from Ide. To put it simply, Moroboshi tells Shinjiro that he's not good enough to be an Ultraman. Before he leaves, Moroboshi advised Shinjiro that being able to do something, yet choosing not to, is no better than a crime. Later that night, the two police detectives from before continue their investigation, discovering the reason why the SSP was involved. Because as it turns out, the alien Agaru is found at the scene of the crime. Tension escalates between Shinjiro and Moroboshi, with Shinjiro again hesitating on killing an alien. The man scolds him, telling him that Shinjiro isn't the only one who can become an Ultraman. At the same time, Endo and Kurata discover the link between all the murders. Each of the victims had left hateful comments on Reina's blog, and so far, their only suspect might be the alien they encountered earlier. At SSP headquarters, Shin talks to Ito and Ide, noting that Bemula could have actually killed him during their fight and wonders why Bemula is focusing on his son instead of him. At home, Shinjiro talks with his dad on what it means to be Ultraman, with Shin saying that being Ultraman was a burden to him and that he only wanted his son to lead a normal life. Endo goes home, where it's revealed that Reina is actually his daughter. The detective asks why she's been talking about Ultraman on the news when she knows that he hates him. Reina is not one for the third degree and storms off, apparently already having a bad day with a hooded stalker who bothered her manager. The next night, the detectives try to set up a trap for the serial killer, where they try to write a negative comment on Reina's blog. Unbeknownst to them, Moroboshi has been spying on these two through a hidden camera, just as Jack calls him up about who had made the request for the murders. However, the two of them are soon attacked by another alien, Alien Bree, where unfortunately none of their guns work on the alien. Just as he's about to kill them, Moroboshi arrives and unveils his own Ultraman suit, the 7th suit. And yes, the school gentleman is actually a samurai with his own katana, so absolutely dope. Shin and Shinjiro arrive to the scene, but Moroboshi finishes Bree off, executing him even after he begged for mercy. Moroboshi, now known as Ultra 7, reminds Shinjiro of his earlier statement of not being the only Ultraman. The next day, as Reina is greeting her fans, Shinjiro ponders on what his role as Ultraman. But right next door, the boxer from earlier, Black King, arrives and causes chaos in the city, at the behest of Jack. Black King tries stomping on Shinjiro, but he transforms in the nick of time. In Ultraman's columns, Shinjiro is told that Black King has to be eliminated. Though he has lingering doubts, even when he fails to attack at a certain point, he learns that it's his job as Ultraman to save people. That belief is what unlocks a latent ability of his, the ability to fly. With this in hand, he uses this to defeat Jesus Christ! Well, those children in the crowd are now scarred for life. Thanks, Ultraman! Later that night, Jack shows to the SSP a picture of the alien Igaru, revealing him to be a former prince of his now extinct people. The Igaru, meanwhile, is beaten up by unknown assailants, mocking him that he's the reason that people are going to die. The next day, Shinjiro's got some swagger on him from his earlier fight before he ends up running into Reina again. He tries talking her up with how awesome Ultraman is, but she confesses that she's not a fan of Ultraman at all, believing that he is not a real hero. She only wants to meet him just to tell him to his face that her mother died thanks to him. Well, that took a turn, though I wouldn't expect nothing less than a celebrity to try and gaslight someone, even if they don't know they were actually talking to the real person. At the police station, Endo secretly leaks the motive of the murders to the news, telling everyone that the killer is going after Reina fans. While Shinjiro has an awkward conversation with Moroboshi, with the man asking which one of them is actually the closest to acting like the real Ultraman, Reina goes off to do a concert, but another alien, disguised as one of the stagehands, plans on putting on the quote-unquote perfect show. The Igaru tries to head to the concert to stop the killings, but is stopped by Endo, having been lured there by the real killer into thinking Igaru was the murderer. The alien eventually flees himself and runs away, leading the cops towards the concert. Shinjiro and Moroboshi both arrive at the concert, also planning on capturing Igaru with his accomplices. After getting out one song, Reina thanks her audience for their support. She mentions that her mom died when she was a baby and hopes that she's looking down on her. You'd think she'd stop there, but she goes even deeper. Apparently, right before Reina's mom gave birth to her, she was caught in a battle between the real Ultraman and the kaiju, becoming trapped in the hospital when it collapsed and she died as a result. Her manager is rightfully freaking out backstage as Reina starts calling out to Ultraman live, telling him that people get hurt by the things he does. He quickly tries to get the next song to play, but then smoke appears behind Reina as the alien from before bursts onto the stage. As some people in the background cheer, still thinking that this is part of the show, both Shinjiro and Moroboshi transform and fight the alien off. The alien then reveals himself as Agent Adad, showing off bombs deployed throughout the concert. The only way to deactivate them is for the Ultraman to be him. He starts activating them left and right at the snap of his fingers, destroying the building which the Ultraman have to play defense for. But to make matters even worse, Bemula shows up out of nowhere. Our dad has no idea why he's here, but Bemula proclaims that he's here simply because Shinjiro is trying to be Ultraman. His lasers bring down the ceiling, but Shinjiro catches it in time. Moroboshi tries to fight Adad, but Bemula stops him. Reina tries yelling at the aliens to leave them alone, and then to Ultraman telling him to save everyone. Wow, you're being really bossy today, you know that? Just saying. Adad dramatically claps at that and pulls out a knife, holding it to her neck and taking her hostage. Ultraman now has two options. Either keep holding up the ceiling and letting the audience live, but failing to save Reina, or drop the ceiling and save Reina but let the audience die. The audience immediately turns on Reina, yelling at Ultraman to save them instead of her. But before Ultraman can even make a decision, Igaru jumps in and protects Reina, but ends up losing his life in the process. Fueled by the power of failure and rage, Ultraman pushes the ceiling up into space, destroying it so that he can go full out on Adad. But before the animation team can do their job, Adad activates the rest of the bombs, revealing them to be fakes. It turns out that, well, the whole thing was actually an act. Adad is not the serial killer, and neither was Igaru. Rather, Igaru was being forced to commit killings, but it was actually under the orders of a group of human fans, the thugs that were beating the alien up earlier. As Endo and his partner place them under arrest, Moroboshi asks why Adad was going through this whole act. Adad reveals himself to be an undercover agent for immigrant control under the Star Cluster Alliance. He put on this whole show so that he could dispose of Igaru, knowing that he would jump to his idol's aid if she was in danger. With that, Adad teleports away and Shinjiro and Moroboshi awkwardly leave too, saying that they'll have to keep an eye on public opinion, marking the end to this very awkward concert. Later at home, Reina's feeling ashamed that her fans would do such a thing, but her father tries to comfort her, saying that the Igaru did love her. She starts to think differently of Ultraman, saying that he tried to save everyone there. Her father's response is to take a drink, and I think we can all feel for that man. Shinjiro is still feeling sad over the Igaru's death. Moroboshi tries to argue that Shinjiro's father had failed to save everyone, and yet he continued on his duty as Ultraman. But that's not the case for Shinjiro, as he wants to save everyone. Moroboshi tells him that he's just being childish and walks away, not liking the kid's attitude. And with that, we end the second arc. Again, somewhat interesting to have a fake-out villain in a mystery, but the way it's executed. For the final arc of the first season, we start off with people at Shinjiro's school talking about the concert and how Reina hasn't made any appearances in a while, as well as speculating about Ultraman. Shinjiro overhears some of the conversation before a freshman asks to meet with him. His name is Seiji Hokuto, and he knows that Shinjiro is Ultraman. Laughing at how flustered Shinjiro gets, Seiji doesn't do anything else except giggling as he takes off and leaves. Later on in a cafe, Shinjiro confesses this to Jack, wanting to take care of this without getting in trouble with the SSP. Jack says he'll try to dig something up, but advises Shinjiro that whoever this guy is gonna want something from him. That night, Seiji beats up a pervert and his gang in the park, stealing the money while taunting one of them with his own phone. He goes home to his conspiracy board of Ultraman while putting away the money he stole, along with a lot of other dollar bills. The next day, a group of SSP agents talk over a bunch of dead alien corpses, saying that incidents are growing and it seems like, although they spoke nice about putting aliens on Earth, the Star Cluster Alliance never really had those intentions in mind. As the sun sets, Shinjiro is about to close up for the Ultraman Museum, but he ends up running into Reina. After a brief conversation, Shinjiro concludes that Reina had actually forgotten about him, and that's probably for the best. But she actually does remember him after a moment. Oh well, tough break. In a dark alley late at night, a group of masked criminals are trying to get away from a rival gang, but soon both parties find themselves facing someone in Ultraman-like armor. He easily takes down the criminals before stealing one of the suitcases filled with money. Having a bit of swagger to him, the Ultraman waves goodbye to a nearby camera and then takes off. Across town, Reina's manager wants her to issue a public apology and cancel appearances after the whole disaster that was her big concert. She agrees to this while also agreeing not to do anything too risky to her own career. But soon both her and everyone else learn about the criminal Ultraman on the news, leading to more discussion on the problems with the Ultraman. The next day, Seiji finds Shinjiro, complimenting him on dealing with the Yakuza. After Shinjiro denies it again, Seiji states that he has no intention of blackmailing Shinjiro, and that he just wants to be friends with him. Before he could figure out what that means, Shinjiro gets a call from the SSP about a kaiju attack and leaves Seiji behind. Alone, Seiji pulls out an alien phone, telling the caller that he, quote-unquote, caught the prey. Since Moroboshi is unavailable at the moment, Shinjiro has to deal with the monster alone. But he's not strong enough, being pinned down and about to be blasted at close range. However, the fake Ultraman from earlier lives, offering his hand to Shinjiro, or as what he is calling his big brother in Ultraman terms, Shinjiro watches the other Ultraman destroy the monster by splitting him in two. And yes, this is a really cool scene to watch. As the SSP watches on, having a bit of dialogue to them, the other Ultraman's arms blow up, due to the armor not being perfected. He says it's no big deal, but then takes off, acknowledging Shinjiro as a senpai. This leads Shinjiro to realize that Seiji and the fake Ultraman are one and the same. In the alien city, Seiji meets with an alien inventor known as Yapu as they discuss the armor. It was only made for hand-to-hand combat, not the finisher he used earlier. As Yapu goes to work to fix it, we learn that the armor's arms are actually entire robotic prosthetics, revealing that Seiji's normal arms are robotic as well. On a dark rooftop, Agent Adad discusses with Bemula about the incident with the passenger jet years ago. The agent reveals that Bemula wasn't actually the being who destroyed it, but instead it was trying to save it. Bemula says nothing, but Adad reassures him that he'll figure out the answer in time. At the Ultraman Museum, Shinjiro tries to figure out what Seiji is up to when Reina comes by again. She apologizes for what happened at her concert, but Shinjiro reassures her that everything is alright now. Soon, he gives Reina the big tour of the museum, but then Reina immediately asks a lot of probing questions of the SSP, ending with straight up, "Where is Ultraman?" She pulls out her phone with a photo of Ultraman on it, zooming in to the SSP logo on the armor and confirming the theory that Ultraman is associated with the organization. Welp, whose dumb idea was that? Just because you can decorate armor doesn't mean you should. Anyway, Shinjiro accidentally slips that he was at the concert and that he was just doing what was natural, trying to say that it's something that Ultraman would say. Reina doesn't seem too confused by what he said, merely saying that she wants to see Ultraman to confess her feelings. Shinjiro gets a call about another alien attack and excuses himself out, promising to Reina that he'll look into Ultraman for her. This time, both Shinjiro and Moroboshi head out as Ultraman to an empty subway station, finding one alien on the tracks. At least the remains of one. Seiji already took care of it for them. Before they speak, Moroboshi kills one of the security cameras which Jack was currently watching the feed of. He says to himself that Seiji is acting more aggressive than he thought and they're gonna have to work fast. However, Seiji takes off his helmet, revealing his identity to both of them before asking to join the SSP. At the SSP headquarters, Ito relays to Moroboshi that there is no written record of Seiji in public records, along with Seiji's testimony that he forged the papers for high school admittance in order to get close to Shinjiro. But he also reveals that Seiji doesn't have not only his arms, his legs are also prosthetics of the same caliber. In an interrogation room, Seiji confesses that he bought information for Ultraman's identity from someone else who told him. And then also reveals that he had a friend named Yuko who lives with him in the alien part of town. He realizes how depressing it is that aliens have to hide their identities from humans, so he wants to do something about it. He wants to eliminate the criminal aliens so that not all aliens get judged and prosecuted with the same way as a single criminal. Both Ito and Moroboshi believe that the kid is lying, but decide to let him go in the hopes that they can get more information out of him, starting with who his backer is. Unfortunately, as he leaves the museum, Seiji knows of their plan. At the alien city, Jack is approached by Agent Haddad, who's on the hunt for a talented technician. As the agent gets some real Japanese food in him, yum, he reveals that he knows Jack is pulling some trickery lately. Later in the park, Seiji angrily hangs up with his contact before he headed into a flashback of his past, learning that Bemulon took Seiji to Yapul, where Yapul not only made his regular prosthetics, but also was the one who took care of him as a child. The next day, as Seiji shakes down a corrupt CEO for cash, Shinjiro arrives and learns about Seiji's extortion attempt. The kid gives back the money as a sign of respect for Shinjiro, but promises the CEO that he won't go so easy on him next time. Seiji explains that this is how he gets the money to operate as Ultraman, saying that he won't have to do it if he joins the SSP. Shinjiro tells him off that he can't do this even if he doesn't join the SSP. But Seiji snaps back with the fact that Shinjiro only became Ultraman because he was born with the power. On the other side, Seiji has to work for it and that he has a real reason to be Ultraman, unlike Shinjiro. Seiji tries walking away, but Shinjiro argues that even if the reason he became Ultraman was because he was asked to, that doesn't mean he'll be immoral with the power. A fight soon breaks out between the two teenagers as they both transform. The two of them trade blows before Moroboshi literally cuts into the fight, taking Shinjiro's place and slicing off one of Seiji's arms. The man lets the punk go, telling him that he has no problem eliminating Seiji even if he is human, but Seiji is not even good enough for elimination status. Harsh. Later, Bemulon pays a visit to Yapul, wanting to know why Yapul is letting Seiji be an Ultraman. Yapul explains that there is no point in stopping Seiji, but then asks why Bemulon has appeared again after all these years. The alien reveals that he's going after the Universe Alliance Council, and that's why he's donned his armor. The next day, Shinjiro meets Reina at the Ultraman Museum again, where the girl reveals that her real name to him is Reina Endo. Shinjiro reveals his full name to her, where she recognizes his last name from his father's accomplishments at the SSP. But from up above, Moroboshi glares daggers at the kid, knowing that Reina just wants to know who Ultraman is, and that if Shinjiro blabs to Reina the truth in order to get some ultra action, if you know what I mean, then Moroboshi will kill him. And yes, he's apparently a telepath because Shinjiro understands his message immediately and takes Reina somewhere else where they won't be watched/judged. At a cafe, Reina reveals that she's taking a break from her singing career and is going to travel the next day to New York so that she can focus on her studies. As the two teenagers exchange their numbers so that they can keep in touch, nearby a window washing platform is about to break with a few workers dangling for their lives. Shinjiro stammers out a lame excuse before he runs and ducks into an alley to transform. After saving them as Ultraman, Shinjiro returns to Reina, walking to her station. Reina confides in Shinjiro that on the day she was born, she now believes that Ultraman was trying to save everyone back then. Although she doesn't explicitly say out loud that she knows now that Shinjiro is Ultraman. She thanks him for listening to her request to save everyone and tells him to never never change before waving goodbye. What a nice and touching moment. Let's immediately get to some painful stuff next. On an oil tanker, a group of mercenaries blow it up, searching for their target. Seiji learns about this and is worried about Yuko, but Yapu reassures him that Bemulai was there and he protected her. Yapu tells him that they need to lay low now, but only a moment later, Seiji is confronted by the SSP. Ito tells him that his application has been denied, but does give the teenager information about the attack on the oil tanker, including the location of where the attackers are. Seiji knows that they're the people who originally attacked the plane he was on years ago, but then asks Ito why he is giving this to him. Ito places a hand on Seiji's shoulder, calmly telling him that he wants Seiji to grow as an Ultraman before walking away mysteriously. At SSP headquarters, Ide reveals to Shinjiro and MOROBOSHI that they reviewed the list of passengers from the flight, and 4-year-old Seiji was one of them along with his parents. Seiji returns home to grab his Ultraman armor, but Yapu tells him that he can't go because it's too dangerous for a child. Said child yells at him that he's not to be underestimated and that he'll prove he's the real Ultraman. Yapu tries to run after Seiji but then sees Ito at a distance, completely frightened. As the villains learn that Seiji is coming for them, gladly accepting the fight, Yapu willingly heads to SSP headquarters and is put into an interrogation room. The alien tells them that the perpetrators who destroyed the plane years ago were a group of alien mercenaries targeting Seiji. Apparently years ago, before they established a relationship with Earth, Cluster Alliance originally sent an advanced research team to the planet. Those researchers and their families were then targeted by alien mercenaries, who blew up the plane in order to assassinate them all. Bemulai tried to stop it, but was only able to save 4 people from the wreckage, one of them being Seiji. As everyone learns that Yapu is also being targeted as well, the alien begs MOROBOSHI and the rest of the SSP to save Seiji from his vengeance before he dies for it. They all resolve to save the kid, but not before Yapu reveals that the people who hired the mercenaries in the first place was the Star Council. At a house in the middle of the woods, Seiji watches from a distance as he lets the SSP do all of the dirty work and infiltrate the alien complex first. MOROBOSHI leads the charge in while telling Shinjiro to stay behind. But as soon as MOROBOSHI touches the door, it turns out to be a trap. Kaboom. The whole building explodes and MOROBOSHI is severely injured for it. Shinjiro runs in, making sure MOROBOSHI is okay, before the alien mercenaries reveal themselves. Upon realizing that the Ultraman in front of them are not their target, the mercenaries' boss, the Ace Killer, plans on eliminating them anyway. With a blast from his weapon, the Ace Killer knocks Shinjiro to the ground before stepping on him and mercilessly shoots him multiple times in the chest. Though the armor is intact, Shinjiro still feels the pain of each blast. One of the Ace Killer's associates, blank guy, uses his vines to pull up both Ultraman in a cross-like fashion as the Ace Killer calls out to Seiji, threatening Shinjiro and MOROBOSHI's lives. Reliving a flashback of Yuko feeling sad over her life, Seiji charges in and frees Shinjiro and MOROBOSHI, and all 3 Ultramen fight the mercenaries off. But they're struggling a bit. Shinjiro tells Ide to release the limiter on his suit, but due to the vines holding him, it can't be activated. Seiji falls to his knees, being a bit lucid from the experience, but Shinjiro calls out to him, reminding him that he has a purpose, a real reason to fight, and that he is an Ultraman too. Finding the resolve to fight, Seiji manages to slice off one of the Ace Killer's arms and deals with the rest of the mercenaries. But then the Ace Killer reveals his secret weapon, Super Speed, which he uses to cut through Seiji piece by piece before stabbing him in the chest. But with him at close range, Seiji activates his own secret weapon, blasting the Ace Killer through the heart. Once again, amazing combat. But as Seiji falls back, it turns out this guy is still alive. What are the chances? Seeing this, Shinjiro powers up, releasing the limiter all on his own and breaking through his vines before cutting Nefertiti's in half. Ito returns to headquarters with the 2 old men wondering where he had been. But that doesn't matter at the moment as Shinjiro finally realizes that there's no reason to hesitate anymore. If someone gets hurt because he doesn't do anything, then he's not using the power he's given to protect people. The Ace Killer asks who the hell this kid is, and Shinjiro answers firmly that he is Ultraman. Shinjiro uses his space-saving ray to completely disintegrate the Ace Killer. As the SSP watches from afar, Ito proudly declares that this is the birth of a new Ultraman. However, we're not done yet. As it turns out, when the Ace Killer is destroyed, his weapon emitted a signal to a spaceship, which is now dropping a bomb heading straight for their location. Just as all seemed lost, Bemulai showed up, using his own space beam and destroying both the bomb and the spaceship. Shinjiro confronts him expecting to fight, but Bamiyar states that it would not be necessary now that Shinjiro has fully awakened. He takes Seiji away to save his life and states that this would not be the first time he saved a human. On the rooftop of the SSP, Yapu is taking a smoke. See, humans aren't the only ones to ruin their bodies, when Jack kidnaps him, saying that he can finally go home. Later on, as Shinjiro reads a text from Reina telling him that she heard of Ultraman's accomplishments, he gets a call about another job, and so he suits up and takes flight as Ultraman. That's the end of Season 1. It's actually pretty good. Although the plot is a bit basic, predictable at times, this final arc is what sold me to the show in the end. All the characters are written well, even if Shinjiro himself is a bit of the generic protagonist seen in most fiction. And like I said, the action sequences are some of the best I've seen in this art style. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue that the series sets up that's sure to entice fans for Season 2. At least, that's what I thought. Let's get to that next. Season 2 starts up with Shinjiro and Reina at a cafe. Reina is currently on break from school and is visiting her home country, unsure when she'll start up her singing career again. Shinjiro starts to get all boy sad, so Reina changes the subject to a mysterious disappearance that happened in New York of a large group of people disappearing into thin air. We then cut over to the airport where this guy, Kotaro Higashi, meets up with an old friend of his, Izumi, where she takes airport security very seriously. Actually, she was worried about Kotaro for days since he was in New York when everyone disappeared. Kotaro is a photojournalist who attempted to investigate this disappearance. He learned that an alien had been tied up in Times Square and deduces that the alien was used as bait to draw people in before they all vanished. Kotaro then discovered that the disappearance has something to do with cameras, so he came back here to Japan to warn the SSP and have them find a way to bring everyone back. At SSP headquarters, everyone is aware that the disappearances are tied to aliens, but don't know anything more than that. Kotaro and Izumi head to the SSP headquarters, but then take a detour to another part of town where Kotaro is hoping to see Ultraman. Although Kotaro can't fight like Ultraman, he reasons that he's using his camera to share the truth to the world just like a real superhero would. Sure dude, sure. As if by fate, an alien starts to go on a rampage in that area, which is where Shinjiro is too. He transforms and steps in, saving some bystanders from getting barbecued. MOROBOSHI transforms and joins Shinjiro, but he doesn't fight at first, recognizing the alien. The alien is Mochigon, already registered and not the kind of guy who would start a fight. The two of them plan to capture Mochigon and learn what's going on. However, Kotaro and Izumi hide away from the crowd as the photographer notices a group of strange women. Izumi recognizes their uniforms from a maid cafe nearby, but it's clear that something's not right. Soon as MOROBOSHI is thrown out of sight from one of Mochigon's attacks, one of the maids takes a photo and everyone in the crowd disappears. That includes both Reina and Shinjiro. As Shinjiro's dad wants to go out looking for his son, with a special prototype suit that the SSP prepared, Kotaro tries to tell MOROBOSHI that he has a lead, but MOROBOSHI, not bothering to pay attention to the idiot with the camera, doesn't listen, telling him to go to the police instead. With no other choice, Kotaro tells Izumi to give his camera to the SSP while he goes personally to investigate the maid cafe. Soon Shinjiro finds himself in a strange void where all the missing people are floating in suspended animation. Though due to his nature as Ultraman, he's able to remain conscious. At night, Jack returns to the city with Yapu acting as his guy in the chair, as the two of them start investigating the disappearances. Through his advanced drones, Jack sees Kotaro sneaking around and decides to see what's going on with him. Kotaro sneaks into the back of the cafe where he sees the maids remove their disguises, showing them to be aliens underneath as they complain that they need to capture MOROBOSHI as well. He sends the photos of them to Izumi, who has just finished telling some of the SSP guards about the whole photo theory. At the alien city, MOROBOSHI meets up with Agent Haddad, who reveals that the disappearances are most likely due to the alien Waddlen, an endangered species that is most likely using the captured humans as life support. But what's strange to the agent is that since there are only a few Waddlen alive, there's no need to kidnap so many people, leading MOROBOSHI to believe that someone else is pulling the strings. MOROBOSHI soon gets a video forwarded by Izumi from Kotaro of the aliens. Kotaro attempts to sneak out but is caught by the alien's metal golden serpent thingy. Anyway, the aliens know that Kotaro snitched out their location. Learning about Izumi as well, some of the maids go to deal with her while their leader interrogates Kotaro on information. Kotaro tries pleading with them that maybe the scientists can find the ways of saving the Waddlen's lives, but she laughs in his face. The maids use the photo transport on Izumi, but due to a complication, it failed, essentially killing her. Kotaro sees this and angrily fights back, but the maids shoot him trying to transport him too. It fails like before, only it does something odd. It turns him into a being of pure fire, because sure, that's how that works. With his new strength, he sets the cafe ablaze and finds himself back on the street. He's unable to contain his flames, so Jack comes through, transforming into his own Ultraman outfit to try and stop him. But it turns out that Kotaro is getting so hot that he'll soon undergo nuclear fusion. So Yapul transmits to Jack another Ultraman suit in the hopes of trapping Kotaro inside and containing his heat. The transformation works and Kotaro is turned back to normal, albeit unconscious. And yet things don't get better. A giant being pronounces it is from the Star of Darkness, proclaiming that they are the ones responsible for the disappearances and that they have one quest for Earth. Surrender half of the human population and the humans that they were already captured will be released or they will all be destroyed. They have 24 hours to decide. And nearby, Seiji and Bemula watch as they decide to take action as well. At one of Jack's safe houses, Kotaro wakes up and remembers the events of the fight along with Izumi disappearing. He overhears Jack and Yapul's current conversation about how the disappearance in New York was just a test for taking Ultraman here. Yapul explains that the technology the Wadoran are using is called a life energy camera, a device that changes the energy of who's captured into quantum, but it's highly dangerous and that it can easily be activated through the camera of every person's cell phone with access to the internet. There's a main camera that is used, and the more portable versions we've seen are merely lenses for it, meaning that they need to find the alien's main weapon and shut it down. At SSP headquarters, Ito informs Ide and Shin that the SSP are under orders to not interfere with humanity's decisions, but countries are already in a panic and even the SSP don't know what's their next move. Fortunately, Jack calls MOROBOSHI up and they exchange information. Meanwhile, Shinjiro wakes up on the alien ship, tied up and unable to break free. He sees the princess deferring to the Star of Darkness leader known as Pidan, with him saying that the Waterans had to fulfill their contract and deliver the other Ultraman. However, when Pidan learns about what happened to Kotaro, they decide to abandon the cameras and begin the next phase of their plan. Back with Jack, Kotaro wants to put on the Ultraman suit again and fight, but Jack calls him an amateur in over his head. He jokingly refers to Kotaro as just Taro, meaning being of light, before he gets a phone call from MOROBOSHI, who found the location of the main weapon. While Jack is distracted, Kotaro swipes the badge to transform into his Ultraman suit and heads to the location on his own. When Jack gets there, Kotaro holds his own against the aliens with his new powers before he transforms into Ultraman. Soon MOROBOSHI arrives and the two briefly fight before Jack comes in and breaks the fight up. The three of them reveal their identities to each other, where MOROBOSHI admits that maybe if he had listened to Kotaro earlier, Kotaro and his girlfriend might not have been involved as they were. Soon the three Ultramen work together to destroy the main transport. Maya, the Wateran princess, learns about the other Ultraman's existence along with Padan. Padan instructs Maya to detonate the transport when the Ultraman arrived there while he goes off to fight the original Ultraman, Shin Hayata. Padan teleports to SSP headquarters, quickly dealing with the armed guards there. With no other choice, Shin puts on his prototype Ultraman suit and tries to deal with Padan on his own, but he's defeated and dragged away, leading Ito to speculate that the main objective was Shin all along. At the docks, the maids lead the Ultraman into the trap, but their transport is soon destroyed in the fight. MOROBOSHI tries threatening them, but Kotaro convinces him that they need information first. The maids reveal that the Wateran made a deal with the Star of Darkness, human lives for the species' survival in exchange for dealing with the Ultraman. MOROBOSHI draws a sword again, but Kotaro tries stopping him, saying that he feels sympathetic to the Waterans and that he wants to come up with another solution. Maya, overhearing this, hesitates on detonating the transport from the ship, also not wanting to blow up her own maids as well. Shinjiro overhears Maya and Padan arguing when Seiji arrives, having snuck aboard. He wants to bust Shinjiro out, but Shinjiro tells him to stop Maya before she presses the detonator. However, Padan teleports there and holds her up by her throat as he activates the detonator on his own. As the camera feed cuts out, Padan threatens her life again before leaving her to cry over the loss of her friends. With that happening, Seiji takes the moment to flee Shinjiro and tries again to come with him to escape. But instead, Shinjiro comforts Maya as he catches up with what has happened. Maya asks Shinjiro why the original Ultraman decided to protect humanity rather than her own species, and he believes that it's because the Waterans never chose to ask for help, instead trying to take what they wanted. Shinjiro tries to get her to come with them, but then Padan transmits himself to all of the screen, showing the defeated Shin Hayata and telling humanity that time is almost up. Maya promises that she'll release the captured humans as Seiji insists that they have to leave now. However, since Shinjiro is in outer space, that means he's too far away for his suit to transport to him and he can't transform. So Seiji stays behind, opening the airlock so that Shinjiro can be jettisoned out close to orbit where he can transform. Landing in front of the giant Ultraman statue, Shinjiro says that he's ready to go to work. Meanwhile, after saving his fellow Ultraman from the bomb, Kotaro's heart stops. In his near-death state, he speaks to Izumi, pleads with him to continue living for the both of them. Back with the Star of Darkness, they learn about Maya's betrayal and Shinjiro's escape as they send a few of their members to deal with her. Seiji doesn't like it, but he chooses to follow Shinjiro's word to protect her as she works on freeing the humans. Maya is stabbed as a result of the battle, but right as Seiji defeats the villain, she keeps her promise to Ultraman, finishing the sequence needed on her alien console and transporting all the humans back to Earth. Seiji laments what a horrible job he did, that he's not strong enough for— wait, well, hold on! Girl, you filthy liar! I never liked you anyway! Shinjiro and the SSP receive a message from the Star of Darkness, where Badan's saying that even though the transport is destroyed, that there's still a way waste to half of humanity just as they planned. Our Ultraman soon flies off to find the Ultraman trio, with Kotaro having a bit of a fanboy moment upon meeting his hero. Seiji reports to everyone about what has happened, that they freed everyone, but Ida said that since the transport is so large that it will take a while before they return to Earth. Probably good timing, because multiple alien ships from the Star of Darkness form together to become one giant mech, one with serious firepower aimed directly at our heroes. Shinjiro gets the other Ultraman to safety as Bemula appears to fire back at the beam, but he fails as the mech's blast destroys several blocks of the city. Yapul contacts Jack and tells them that the mech is called the Golden Fortress, a robot powerful enough to stop any projectiles, including the Ultraman space-in rays. But there is a silver lining. The giant beam that the mech used has a 30-minute recharge, so they have some time. Seiji contacts Shinjiro with the location of his father, and Shinjiro flies off to save Shin, while Moroboshi tries to destroy the cannon, and Jack and Taro keep the mech busy. With a new set of equipment called the Wide Shot, Moroboshi flies up to the cannon, fighting another alien as he gets up there. He defeats the alien before destroying the cannon. As he's caught in the ensuing blast, Moroboshi leaves the rest of the battle up to the other Ultramen. However, even with the cannon destroyed, the fortress is still on a rampage. Yapul tells Jack and Kotaro that the best hope to disabling the fortress is to destroy its power core. As a regular SSP helicopter helps them up, Shinjiro meets up with Seiji and the two of them flee Shin from his restraints. Shin tells Shinjiro that he can't keep treating him like a child, but that awkward conversation gets interrupted by more soldiers coming out to stop them. Luckily, Moroboshi arrives to be a badass and saves them all, taking them to safety. They meet up with Jack and Kotaro, who tells them about the plan to blow up the robot's reactor. Shinjiro offers to help, but Kotaro tells him that he's too important to lose as the world's main Ultraman and to trust them to get the job done. As Jack fights out Korg's water cousin here, Kotaro uses his flames on the core, but it doesn't break through the robot's shields. Badan taunts the Ultraman and commands Kotaro to kneel before him as the robot destroys the SSP. Kotaro releases his limiter and prepares to use all of his power, but the ghost of his girlfriend pleads for him to stop. That's too big of a risk. Even so, Kotaro goes all out, letting his flames go blue as he detonates himself. Jack is thrown from the blast and lands near the other Ultramen as the fortress goes down. Kotaro's badge is found nearby. However, before they can mourn or celebrate whatever happened, Padan appears and laughs menacingly and rants about his plans still can't be stopped because of reasons. The Ultramen try to fight him off, but Padan is able to clone himself and dispatches them easily. Shin calls SSP for the new suit, and they transmit it to him right away, the Zoffy suit. It allows him to do this. However, Padan powers up as well, and father and son fight off the alien on their own, while the other Ultramen are down by the clones. But even when Ultraman and Zoffy use their space-in rays, it's not enough. Bemula then comes in and adds his space-in ray to the mix. But it turns out even this is not enough. Padan boasts to us, the audience, that his death results in this plan ultimately succeeding, the beginning of the end. Let me skip ahead to season 3 to see if this actually does anything. Yep, nope. No, you were just grandstanding. Nothing to see here. Moving on. Anyway, as Ito lets out some slow claps cryptically about a job well done, all of the captured humans are transported to an empty baseball field. So yeah, that's gonna cause some passport issues for the New York side of it. But hey, free vacation for some of them. In some limbo, Taro finds the real Zumi and the two of them briefly reunite. However, Bemula appears, revealing that he can always save Kotaro because he's an Ultraman, and not Izumi. Sorry Izumi, but you don't have a cool enough suit to join them. Kotaro doesn't want to return without Izumi, but she tells him to go on and be everyone's hero before she disappears for funsies. Bemula asks Kotaro if he wishes to continue fighting as Ultraman. He does, saying that he'll be an Ultraman until the end of time. The alien then returns Kotaro's light to him, calling him Ultraman Taro. In the real world, Shinjiro meets up with Reina again. She gives him a kiss goodbye, thanking him for saving everyone. He takes this very graciously. As the other Ultramen plan to kill this embarrassment, Kotaro falls from the sky, healthy and alive. After Shinjiro thanks Kotaro for saving everyone, he officially welcomes him to the team. Jack offers to take Kotaro back to the US to be the Ultraman over there. And so that ends season 2. 6 episodes total. Essentially this is one long arc about a movie's length. Is it good? Well, the plot is a bit basic, going for this big scale adventure, but the climax doesn't feel that grand and powerful. It's all about getting to know these characters, introducing Taro while showing everyone off as Ultraman. But we'll discuss this more after we get to season 3, the final season. When this season was announced, it was definitively called Ultraman Final. As best as I can tell, there was still content to be pulled from source material, but for one reason or another, this season is the last. Why? We don't know for sure, but even so, that shouldn't stop us from seeing this through to the end. Let's do it! It's been a full year since the events of the last season, and we start off with Shinjiro going through puberty. Actually, the sight of Shinjiro about to face off a kaiju as he's giant in the city is actually just a dream. He is actually with MOROBOSHI in their Ultraman suits about to deploy for another mission. An alien is holding multiple civilians hostage in an apartment complex. The two Ultramen land on the rooftop, but when Shinjiro tries to kick the door down, he ends up putting too much strength into it, creating a large hole on top. Though they save the hostages, MOROBOSHI chews Shinjiro out for his stunt, though Shinjiro doesn't know how it happened. The next day, Reina is praising Shinjiro's efforts as Ultraman, while Shinjiro tries to turn it around to her. Reina's first concert in forever is going to be to celebrate the city being reconstructed after, that. Even though she's excited for it, a part of her is a bit confused, especially in the light of her revelations of who Ultraman really is. She asks him if he can bring Ultraman to the concert. Although reluctant, he says he'll try. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, that. At SSSP, reviewing the footage of the hostage incident, Ito suspects that Shinjiro's powers have grown to another level, one that his suit can't contain. But that's not the only surprise. Kotaro, after working with Jack in New York, arrives to join the Japan branch of the SSP. MOROBOSHI takes the moment to praise Kotaro's accomplishments while taking another jab at Shinjiro. Though it's okay since Kotaro plans on pulling his weight for the new team. Later, Ide informs Shinjiro that they are aware of his recent difficulties controlling his powers and want to make a new suit for him. Although Ide admits that Shin is reluctant to place any more burden on him. Shinjiro tries on a new suit for a field test, acing it. However, an emergency soon develops with an alien going on a killing spree. The helicopter races to meet Taro at the location, but Shinjiro asks if he can keep his new suit on rather than his old suit. Ito proposes that this would provide valuable data for a field test, and Shin and Ide agree. They find a massacre before them before all three Ultramen split up at the location, with Shinjiro finding the killer first and chasing him into the city. When the alien crashes into a car, he reveals that he killed all those people just to bring out an Ultraman. Fueled by the power of rage, Shinjiro's powers start growing past the suit's limits as Ultraman slices off the guy's arms and then kills him straight on, leaving green Kool-Aid on his suit. The three Ultramen walk away from the scene as a stranger in black is watching through a camera feed. Back at SSP, as Shinjiro starts to wonder how he could be so violent, Ide apologizes to him, saying that they're going to stop field testing for a while. Shin talks with his son as well, saying that he's not concerned about the suit, but more about what's happening to Shinjiro. However, the conversation is cut short as Shin gets a phone call. In the meantime, Shinjiro ends up going to a rehearsal of Reina's concert, but stops short by another alien attack. He transforms and goes to fight it, but not before getting a headache with a vision of a kaiju from his dream. Ultraman tries using his spacing ray on the kaiju, but ends up unable to stop himself as he destroys entire buildings in the city around him, and then takes off without even attempting to help. MOROBOSHI and Kotaro arrive, but people are scared of them, thinking that they'll blow things up like with what Shinjiro did. The SSSP witnessed dozens of videos shot at the event. Shin is horrified, remembering way back in season 1 when he told his son that being Ultraman was a curse and that it would somehow tear their family apart. As MOROBOSHI and Kotaro are ordered to return to base, Shin goes out to try and fight his son. Shinjiro soon wakes up in an alley, not having any memory of the fight and missing his phone as well. Bemura observes the destruction, saying that it has begun and it's time to prepare. On the news, a Professor Masasugu Otani is interviewed, giving his thoughts that Ultraman himself brings destruction and questions whether humanity really needs Ultraman's protection. Shinjiro sees the broadcast and learns exactly what he did. He heads straight to SSP headquarters where he admits he lost his memories of the fight, but he refuses to believe that he was the cause of the destruction. Even so, Ide decides to bench Shinjiro from Ultraman duties for the time being, much to Shinjiro's disappointment. As Kotaro gives Shinjiro a spare phone to use, he voices his doubts as to whether Shinjiro is innocent or not. Nonetheless, he promises that he will get to the bottom of it. Shinjiro then calls his dad, wanting for them to meet up and discuss if his father has any memories of being Ultraman. But when Shin gets to the park where they're supposed to meet, an alien attacks. Shin transforms into Zoffy as the alien introduces himself as the nameless victim. Zoffy moves the fight to an empty construction site to avoid more civilian casualties where the two of them duke it out. Moroboshi and Kotaro are dispatched to the scene to help, but the alien creates a massive sphere of energy, dropping it on the bystanders. Zoffy goes out to try and hold it up, but his attacker knew that he would do that. On the streets, Shinjiro watches as Zoffy is consumed and the orb detonates into an explosion, killing off his father. Filled with Super Saiyan rage, Shinjiro flies up without his Ultraman suit and starts fighting the alien on his own. When the alien starts to fly away, Shinjiro tries transforming to catch up, but his suit is blocked. Strangely, the test suit is still able to be used, but Shinjiro doesn't question it, chasing after the alien. Ide and Moroboshi contact Shinjiro to get him to turn back. Unfortunately, Shinjiro acts like a regular teenager and disobeys stupid orders, fighting the alien on his own. However, it turns out to be difficult as the alien possesses the power of dance. Even worse, the alien tries the same orb trick again. This time, Shinjiro flies to block it, releasing his limiter and using his spacing ray to destroy it. However, Shinjiro then starts to see the giant kaiju from his dreams. He activates his blade again. It goes right through the illusion as it destroys the building behind it, and once again, Shinjiro loses control of his ray. Moroboshi spots the alien get away, but decides to handle Shinjiro first, aiming his weapon at him. Kotaro is more sympathetic to Shinjiro, remembering that he is going through the same emotions that Kotaro once had. Shinjiro surrenders as Bemula watches from afar as he comments that the Universe Alliance Council will be taking action soon. Shinjiro is soon locked up in a cell at SSP as the police detectives from Season 1 watch another broadcast with the professor, claiming that Ultraman is not needed for a peaceful society. Endo comments that it's not his business to deal with this as he and Kurata head out to the scene of a robbery of an apartment. Actually, as it turns out, it's an entire apartment complex with every unit getting robbed at once, along with all the surveillance cameras being disabled as well. Meanwhile, after Reina watches the broadcast of the professor, her agent says that she has an offer to debate the professor on TV about Ultraman himself. She agrees with it, saying that she'll debate anyone who says that Ultraman is not a hero. At night, Detective Endo figures out that the robberies happen at the same time as the explosions caused by Ultraman, and realizes that it's not a coincidence. It leads him to believe that perhaps Ultraman may not be entirely guilty. Soon both detectives are visited by Bemula, who reveals to them that he has been watching over them and says that he'll help them if they need him. Bemula then takes off, meeting with Agent Adad, but Bemula senses that something's wrong. Agent Adad is revealed to be an imposter right as Bemula is stabbed by an unknown villain. He falls to the ground and an orb of light similar to the one that killed Zoffy appears, taking him with it. A few days later, Moroboshi searches for Adad, but for some reason, Adad can't be seen in person. Though, on the phone, he identifies the alien from earlier as Mephisto, and that Moroboshi should watch out for Mephisto's minions as well. In his cell, Shinjiro finds a mysterious cell phone not connected to the internet and no service. However, there's a single app on there, Virtual Suit. When Shinjiro touches it, he's shocked to find himself transformed. Soon the debate between Reina and Professor Otani starts. Reina argues that Ultraman has saved them many times before and that he wouldn't go out destroying things for no reason. Unfortunately, Otani dismisses her as someone with feelings for Ultraman as he tries to relate the situation to the wolves and the deer epidemic. How in history, humanity tried to kill off the wolves to save the deer, but the deer population became too big and ended up distorting the balance of nature. Ultraman is humanity in this instance, distorting nature by killing off the aliens, wolves, to save humans, the deer. Though if I was there, I would argue that since the Doctor is using humanity as deers, it would imply that he's not a fan of overpopulation and wants humanity to suffer naturally. Hey, that's a point in our favor for public opinion. Otani brings up Reina's backstory on how her mom lost her life thanks to the original Ultraman's intervention. Before she could argue against that, the moderator announces that the results of their poll prove that 70% of people now believe that Ultraman is a threat to their world. But then, the broadcast is hijacked as Mephisto appears on screen and a giant ship comes down from the sky. Mephisto declares that he wants to rid the world of the threat that is Ultraman, stating that he is on the same side as humanity. He puts down some grave markers for the 4
Ultraman he plans to eliminate, confessing that 2 have already been dealt with. As the ship disappears as quickly as it came, the SSP has a security malfunction, shutting down all surveillance cameras in the building. Kotaro goes down to the server room to investigate when he sees Ultraman there. Ultraman attacks Kotaro before running away. He transforms and tries to chase after Ultraman, but then loses him in the sewers. He is then soon attacked by a golden female alien known as Valkyria, who is clearly enjoying herself. She has her blade to his throat, but says she's not going to kill him because her job was to ensure that Ultraman gets released. Back to Shinjiro, he's sitting alone in his cell when his door opens. He steps out, seeing Ultraman at the far end of the corridor. As Kotaro is called back to find Shinjiro, Shinjiro and the Ultraman fight it out as the teenager tries to escape via helipad. As the helipad slowly goes up, Shinjiro uses the phone to transform and both Ultramen exchange blows. However, as Shinjiro soon realizes, his suit is only a hologram and doesn't provide any actual protection. Still, Shinjiro soon realizes that this is part of the game and stabs his hand through the fake Ultraman. Right before security goes back online for the building, the fake Ultraman transforms back into his true alien form. That means Taro or anyone else can see the fake Ultraman, but instead Shinjiro slaughtering an alien out of nowhere. So no one believes him when Shinjiro tries to argue that he was the fake Ultraman who set him up. Taro tries to get Shinjiro to go back to his cell, saying that even if Shinjiro is right about being set up, Shinjiro is acting out of revenge for his father, not true justice. But Shinjiro is not going to sit by any longer, flying off to deal with this on his own. A few hours later, during the night, Kotaro and MOROBOSHI discuss the recent events, with Kotaro saying that he doesn't know what to believe Shinjiro, while MOROBOSHI is focused on the alien threat. The two of them are soon called to find Shinjiro and bring him in as quietly as possible, even if they have to use force to do it. In the morning, the teenager wakes up from another nightmare, and hey, he finally changed his clothes. It took getting them actually dirty, but hey, he did it. Anyway, now that he's calmed down, he admits to himself that he doesn't know what to do next. At the villain's evil lair, Valkyria points out to Mephisto that after eliminating the 2 Ultramen earlier, they had a chance to take out the 3rd, but Mephisto says that everything is going according to plan. He tells Valkyria to find Shinjiro and that they're heading into Phase 2. Shinjiro is trying to discreetly buy some food for himself when he spots a flyer regarding a book signing by Reina. Camera recognition picks him up as a result as Taro is sent to find him, but the teenager recognizes this, so he tricks them by ditching his phone with a GPS in a moving truck. As Reina heads home, wondering where Shinjiro is as well, our hero ends up going to the baseball stadium where his powers first happen as he mourns the loss of his father and thinks over Taro's words from earlier. Endo arrives home too, telling Reina that it was a mistake for her to go on TV like that. He says he doesn't care about Ultraman being a hero or not, but Reina argues that everyone knows he's a hero, they're just following the crowd and saying that he's not. Even so, Endo doesn't approve of people digging into Reina's past, but then she points out that he never talks about her past or about her mother. Endo replies that men like to keep things bottled up and to just leave it at that. Shinjiro goes to Reina's book signing in disguise, but doesn't have the right words to say anything to her and tries to leave. Remembering her father's words that men don't like to talk about their feelings or whatever, she gives him a signed book with the words, "Don't ever change," the same words that she said when she discovered his identity. She tells him that no matter what, she'll always be his biggest fan before he leaves again. Meanwhile, with the villains, Valkyria asks Mephisto if she has permission to kill Shinjiro when she finds him. He leaves it up to her discretion. And that's it. Very short scene. Moving on. In the rain, Shinjiro calls his mother at a phone booth, asking for any updates on Dad before admitting that he won't be home soon. She admits she's worried for him, but has a feeling that she knows he'll be alright. She also gives him a location, a place that her dad said to take Shinjiro to if something ever happened to him. The next day, Shinjiro finds himself at Shirai's shrine, but before he can find anything, he's attacked by Valkyria. He doesn't transform and... Wait, where was I? Oh, right. He doesn't transform, as a result gets beaten up. Right as Shinjiro is about to get killed, Taro arrives and ends up fighting Valkyria himself. Shinjiro takes the opportunity to run for it, but finds himself at group point with a bunch of SSP soldiers and MOROBOSHI. But suddenly, a strange car deploys a smoke bomb and rescues Shinjiro just in time. The driver reveals himself to be Daisuke Arashi, former member of the SSP. After MOROBOSHI helps Taro with his fight, ending with Valkyria escaping, Daisuke takes Shinjiro to a warehouse, where the old man explains his backstory. He was actually part of the original team when Shin was the first Ultraman. From there, Daisuke made a deal to look out for Shin's son. He's been able to keep track with information from the SSP servers, but Daisuke says all he did was guess the right password, which Shinjiro still says is not right. Hey, it's happened before with real-life organizations, and let me tell you, it's really funny when that happens. I wouldn't call it a crime, really. Anyway, as Daisuke fills Shinjiro on the Mephisto part that he missed, Endo reflects on his daughter's words about Ultraman being a good guy when Seiji appears. The Ultraman informs the detective that Bemura is presumed dead at the moment, and delivers a message to the detective. The truth is in the power of light. Back to Shinjiro, Daisuke tells him that he was recruited to come back to the SSP when Shin was originally rejoined, but he declined, instead wanting to keep an eye on them instead to make sure they stay on the right path, which is how he was able to find Shinjiro and save him in time. Shinjiro thanks him for the help and tries to leave, but Daisuke wants him to stay and wait for the right moment. As the SSP regroup with them already identifying that Daisuke was the one who helped Shinjiro, Daisuke and Shinjiro go over Mephisto's message and realize that Mephisto might be after those who had the Giant of Light's power, aka those who were able to use the Spacium rays. With Shinjiro and his dad, the only other one they are aware of is Bemura, which leaves a fourth one unaccounted for. With no other leads, they have to assume at the moment it's Kotaro since given his special powers and all that. Moroboshi heads out to deal with the personal matter, but Kotaro interrogates him, believing that Moroboshi let Shinjiro get away. But our cool guy here snaps back, believing that Shinjiro wouldn't be so sloppy with his powers after everything. Kotaro doesn't want to believe it, but he believes what he saw. Moroboshi, on the other hand, doesn't like how all the evidence is magically pointing Shinjiro's way. At the hideout, Shinjiro still wants to leave. He knows the risks, but it's the only way to prove his innocence. Daisuke compares Shinjiro's stubbornness to his father's, how his father dealt with his own issues alone while being Ultraman. With city destruction being more common back then, Shin would go and visit those who were injured, ignoring his friend's attempts to say it would just make the job more hurtful than it had been. Daisuke tells Shinjiro that he can go if he wants, but he'll be in his corner. Soon, drones arrive in the area. The former agent shoots one down, comparing it to some of the tech he used back then. While Daisuke is talking about the good old days, Shinjiro realizes that the alien from his dreams is Zeton, the final alien Shin fought as the original Ultraman, and he gets an idea on where to go next. Meanwhile, Endo thinks over Seiji's words to him before he realizes something's off about the color of the space ray. He goes off to the park and meets with the Ultraman, thanking him for the tip. However, betrayal soon happens. Alone in her dressing room, Reina gets a voicemail from her dad, who informs her about Ultraman's light before being the key to what happened at a rehearsal. However, before she can call him back, she sees a news report stating that he was rushed to the hospital and is now in critical condition. She quickly hurries there, meeting up with Kurata as he gives her the rundown on what his partner has been working on. He shows her a brief glimpse into the surveillance footage of the park of the fake Ultraman stabbing Endo, but Reina's still not sure what she can do. With the SSP, Moroboshi sees the report on Endo stabbing as well, and sends Taro to find Reina as he senses that something's off about this. He doesn't find her, but discovers the footage of Seiji stabbing Endo and realizes that Shinjiro will be heading to the hospital soon. Reina waits for updates in the park when Seiji, the real one, reveals his identity to her and tells her that he wasn't the one who attacked the detective. Before he disappeared, Bemura ordered Seiji to protect Reina if something ever happened to her dad, and so Seiji takes her back to his place, the alien district of the city. However, when Seiji returns home, he finds that Yappa wasn't there yet, so Reina, letting her curiosity of the aliens get the better of her, ends up exploring the district, going shopping and seeing the sights, much to Seiji's annoyance. Later, on a rooftop, Reina reflects on her life and questions how she's still here while her dad is in the hospital. Seiji gets a brief flashback, seeing the same sadness on Reina as one of his old friends and wanting to protect her. He then produces a mysterious choker from Bemura, stating that it was supposed to be given to her dad. Nonetheless, he decides to let Reina wear it for the time being. She goes downstairs to the bathroom to check how cute she is in the mirror when she accidentally activates a function to it. Meanwhile, Shinjiro goes off and finds survivors from the last fight between the original Ultraman and Zeton, believing that there was a connection to that battle as to why his powers aren't working. Talking to one of them, he realizes that the best route he should go to is at the local hospital, since it's where his dad would go and visit after a battle. Shinjiro shows a picture of his dad to some of the doctors until he finds a nurse who remembers him from way back when. The nurse starts talking up his dad before she reveals an incident where a badly injured pregnant woman needed a blood transfusion, and Shinjiro's father volunteered to donate some of his. While she died, her daughter was healthy and alive. Shinjiro puts the pieces together and realizes that the daughter his father saved was actually Reina. Speaking of Reina, she is attacked by the fake Ultraman Ace, demanding to know where Shinjiro is. Seiji intervenes, transforming to fight the fake as the alien drops his disguise. Reina tries to escape outside but notices Seiji losing against the alien. So she activates her choker and transforms into an Ultraman herself in true Sailor Moon fashion. The shapeshifter, aka Zarab, realizes that she's the fourth Ultraman they've been looking for. Though she's not an experienced fighter, Reina is a lot more agile and on her feet than he anticipated, and she manages to send him away with her own shield ability. At the villain's evil lair, Mephisto reflects on Ultraman and how his light is a sign as Valkyria heads out to cause trouble on her own. At the hospital, Shinjiro is about to leave, but he ends up running into Kotaro. The man transforms as Shinjiro moves the fight to a safer location away from civilians, and to his surprise, Shinjiro is allowed access to his Ultraman suit again, and the two Ultramen duke it out. Across towns, Reina's freaking out about the whole transforming thing, so Seiji takes her to Yapu, where the mechanic recognizes the choker around her neck and realizes that she's the one that Bemula had an eye on. Yapu was the one to make the Ultraman suit and reveals that when he was in the United States working with Jack, Bemula spoke to him and told him that preparations needed to be made before Reina's powers awakened. Meanwhile, MOROBOSHI finds a group of thieves that have been using the Ultraman attacks to rob people blind. They were warned about the attacks in advance to not only break into empty houses, but to find any info on a child that lived there a decade ago. Under some intense interrogation, they reveal a meeting location where the agent heads to. There, he finds an alien corpse on the ground, but right as he investigates the alien's wound, the shapeshifter bursts in and MOROBOSHI interrogates him, learning about the new Ultraman. MOROBOSHI hears the plan, how the alien's older brother was the one who took over for Ultraman at the rehearsal and was the one that got killed by Shinjiro back at the SSP headquarters. All for Mephisto's plan to isolate Shinjiro and then corner him, but he doesn't know more than that. The agent looks under the corpse, revealing a bomb that soon detonates. Both he and Zarab get out alive as MOROBOSHI forces him to follow him back. The fight between Ultraman and Tall goes about as well as you'd expect, like something out of a Mario level. Shinjiro tries to get Taro to stop this so that he can save Reina, but instead of focusing on a girl's life that is potentially in danger, Taro demands to know why Shinjiro became an Ultraman in the first place. Shinjiro confesses that after his father died, he thought he was alone. Talking to so many people the past few days made him realize that as long as he follows the path his father once took, he'll learn what Ultraman he is truly meant to be. That answer satisfies Taro as MOROBOSHI arrives, wanting to deal with Ultraman himself. But as Taro steps in, MOROBOSHI reveals himself to be another shapeshifter, now with Valkyria to back him up. Taro states out loud that he knew Shinjiro was telling the truth before, allowing him access to the Ultraman suit again just to be sure. All four of them fight with the aliens getting the upper hand. However, right as Valkyria is about to kill Shinjiro, Reina arrives, having run away from Seiji and Yapu and stumbling on the battle by sheer luck. With the added backup, the Ultraman defeat the aliens. Valkyria says that Mephisto's plan is just beginning, and her goals aren't the same as his. However, they all escape from the Ultraman. Even Reina escapes, who's still wanting to figure all this out on her own. Suddenly, Jack shows up out of the blue and Taro punches him, figuring him to be another shapeshifter. Only this time, he turns out to be the real deal. At the villain's lair, Valkyria reveals who the new Ultraman is. Mephisto attacks her out of the blue and cuts her loose from his plans. At the hospital, Reina goes to see her dad, who has finally woken up, and asks him what he knows about her mom's death, revealing her Ultraman armor to convince him to tell. Endo tells his daughter, the Big Bomb, that her mother was an alien, who only revealed it to him shortly before Reina was born. Her mother was injured in the battle between Ultraman and Zeton, but the story Reina was originally told with Ultraman crushing the hospital her mom was in, the one that she inadvertently gaslit her fans earlier with, was a bold-faced lie. She died as a result of giving birth to Reina, and Endo told her the original story because he wanted to protect her. Although she understands why he did what he did, Reina points out that it was unfair to blame Ultraman for her death, which Endo does agree with. She leaves him, wanting some time to think this over. At SSP headquarters, Jack and Kotaro return with Shinjiro, who apologizes for his prior behavior, with Ide returning it with his own. As they all plan to deal with Mephisto, Jack thinks that the enemy's real plan is to not just make Ultraman a threat to the city, but to the entire world. With the seeds of doubt already in people's minds, it only gets worse when the footage of the fake Ultraman stabbing Endo is leaked, and the professor is there to tell humanity that they shouldn't rely on Ultraman anymore. Soon, Black Ops agents arrive, attempting to shut down the SSP and arrest Ide and the other Ultramen. But then Shinjiro notices the live broadcast of Reina storming in and revealing that Ultraman was an imposter and demanding that the professor take back his words. Mephisto soon arrives, revealing to the world that Reina is an Ultraman too. Jack and Kotaro provide a distraction with the guards, while Shinjiro breaks out, transforming into Ultraman and flying to the TV studio in a hurry. Reina hesitates to transform and is knocked out by Mephisto right as Ultraman arrives. The alien then tells Ultraman that the only way he'll be able to save Reina is if he unleashes all of his power. Soon, a dark power takes over Ultraman's body, slowly transforming transforming him into a true giant of light, Mephisto's true plan. But even with his dark power, it's not enough. Mephisto shocks Reina to anger him even further. The shock itself wakes Reina up as she sees Ultraman continuing to escalate the fight. As the professor narrates the live feed, the readings confirm from Shinjiro's suit that his spacium energy is overloading the suit itself. Mephisto goes down, but he's not done yet. He sends another purple sphere at Reina and Ultraman fires his spacium ray through it at full power. The ray goes right through the sphere, straight at Mephisto. The result leads to an explosion in the middle of the city. Shinjiro collapses from the energy, plummeting toward the ground. The sphere holding Reina disappears and she transforms, trying to get Shinjiro to wake up. But since he doesn't have the energy to fly anymore, Reina holds him tight as they fall together, and she uses her shield to soften the blow, saving both of their lives. Seiji picks the two up and greets Shinjiro before the two of them watch another broadcast, bad-mouthing Ultraman and his actions from earlier. Soon Moroboshi and Zorab come knocking as the alien apologizes for being used like before. Shinjiro talks more about what has happened back there, how he lost control. Yappo chimes in, saying that Shinjiro becoming a giant of light is what Bemula had feared the most. The mechanic then reveals a news report showing a strange light coming from Mephisto's ship, confirming it to be a subspace gate for transport, something massive based on the size. The portal used Ultraman's spacium ray energy to fully power it, as Moroboshi concludes that Mephisto isn't the mastermind after all, rather used as a sacrificial lamb for whatever the bigger plan is. And with the SSP guys at headquarters under arrest, Shinjiro doesn't know what to do as he's completely scared, believing that he'll go on another rampage with his powers. But Moroboshi plays it rough, repeating Shinjiro's words about wanting to save everyone and stating that he couldn't believe he actually started to believe them. He storms out, leaving them all behind. Shinjiro finds the resolve to follow his mentor. Shinjiro and Moroboshi head to SSP headquarters, where the man wants to follow a hunch of his. Zorab joins them and uses his shape-shifting powers to distract the government's guards, while the two of them sneak in through the sewers and then disguise themselves to get to some of the staff inside. They bring up Ultraman's combat data, including the access logs, revealing that someone was bypassing security and sending them outside. Not only that, but they're sending the location of the Ultraman as well, including Shinjiro's test suit. That makes both of them realize that there was only one person who was insistent on Shinjiro using the suit in the first place. They head up to the rooftop, finding the true mastermind behind all of this as he's admiring the portal he created, Mr. Ito. Damn it, I thought that was a face we could all trust. Mr. Ito says that he didn't manipulate anything, rather he just guided things along for his true mission, peace for the entire universe. And to do that, Ultraman must be eradicated. Moroboshi points out that he's the one who started back up the Ultraman project and suits and asks him why he would go through all that effort just to destroy them. Our evil mastermind reveals that the Star Cluster Alliance does not appreciate the original Ultraman, as he has destroyed many races and planets throughout the galaxy in the name of justice. The Council wanted Earth to join, but humanity's unshakable faith that Ultraman is a hero could lead to bias, justice, and radical measures. So before the Council could welcome Earth, they needed to take away humanity's trust in Ultraman first. So when the Ultraman left, with everyone on Earth believing in him, Ito decided to create some new Ultraman to be used as surrogates. Now that people don't believe in Ultraman anymore, the only thing left is to kill the Ultraman that are here with the last monster Ultraman faced, Zeton. Moroboshi says that all they need to do is destroy Mephisto's ship to avoid Zeton rampaging, but Ito informs the two that it will take at least a day before Zeton is fully teleported here before he teleports away, saying that he'll be watching what they come up with. In two of the four spires, hidden away and resting there on crosses, are Shin Hayata and Bemula, both confirmed to be alive. Shinjiro's father blames himself for not being able to stop all of this, but Bemula shares the blame with him. All they can do is hope that the new generation of heroes are able to stop it. In the alien district, Reina wakes up and goes to find Shinjiro, with Seiji telling her that he's gonna need her soon. Later that night, Moroboshi contacts his contact at the SSP, telling her to prepare something for him, while Shinjiro, tries to get a good seat for a game. I have no idea why he's here at this moment. Anyway, Reina finds him and tells him the full truth about her becoming an Ultraman, with her confirming that she knew about him as well. The two of them agree with one another that they won't change, no matter who or what they become, alien or not. With that clarity that he won't ever lose who he is, Shinjiro transforms into Ultraman, with Reina following him as well. Soon it's time. Zeton appears right outside of SSP headquarters. Ultraman arrives, and upon seeing the kaiju, he realizes that his visions about Zeton weren't from his father's memories, but rather he was seeing his own destiny. Sure, I'll buy that with no proof at all. As the fight between Ultraman and Zeton begins with Reina providing cover, a crowd of civilians start heckling the hero, telling him to go die in a hole or whatever. You know, your usual Twitter replies. Still, Ultraman doesn't give up, continuing to fight Zeton to protect the world that hates him. The fighting starts rocking SSP headquarters where Kotaro and Jack realize that now might be a good time to make a break for it. Fortunately, Seiji already beat them to the punch, leading them outside to be the cavalry for Shinjiro even when he's not able to get close. MOROBOSHI is the first to arrive along with the others, as all Ultraman, sans Reina who provides support, charge at Zeton and attack, using all their firepower. With one limb torn off, Zeton is taken down. However, it's not over yet. Ito appears above Zeton's body and, loots his DNA like we were in a video game or something and steals his power. In his new Zeton suit, Ito punches Ultraman out of there, taking him somewhere else to fight while the rest of the Ultraman have to handle Zeton. Again. Ito effortlessly wails on Ultraman, all the while calmly telling him to unleash his full power because defeating him as he is now won't do humanity any good. When he catches a glimpse of Reina being hurt, Shinjiro's energy rises again. At the Four Spires, despite his body being too weak, Bamyar unleashes his full power, claiming that he has grown to care for humanity and wants to help them regardless of the risks, freeing Shin while killing himself in the process. Meanwhile, the Ultramen are getting their butts kicked against Zeton until Ide teams up with Daisuke, going up in a helicopter with a weapon in hand. The kaiju seemingly blows them up with one of his lasers, but fortunately, Shin arrived just in time, protecting them all at the last moment. With Shin using his spacing ray as a distraction, Daisuke is able to blow a missile in Zeton's face, and the rest of the Ultramen come in for the kill as the crowd finally starts to cheer them on for no reason. Gotta love hypocrites. Anyway, Shinjiro is fighting with the Giants of Light's power, but even so, Ito manages to punch him around, dealing a final blow to Ultraman as he shoots a laser, cutting right through Shinjiro's armor and through his chest. Our hero falls to the ground, his light dimming as crowds of onlookers gather around the dead body, noticing that he somehow ended up making a giant-sized hole despite his size. Shinjiro has an out-of-body experience, looking down at his dead body. Part of him wants to keep fighting, but the other part cries that even his dad couldn't defeat Zeton, so what chance does he have now? Even so, he was entrusted with his power for a reason, as memories of his life play in his head, calling himself Ultraman. The crowd around him start to feel remorse over the dead body and start chanting his name to get up. Ultraman! 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 Shinjiro finds the strength to stand up, and soon a light that is in his body transforms his armor, letting his old body start to shed away as it's replaced by a new armor, one much more akin to the Giant of Light. He flies back up towards Zeton, declaring that Giant of Light or not, he is the one true Ultraman. Fueled by his new resolve, Ultraman finds the power within him to go toe-to-toe with Ito, as humanity starts cheering for him again. Even the professor is told to shut his dirty, filthy, stupid mouth, as everyone realizes that Ultraman is there to protect them. Ito calls humanity fools for this, but Shinjiro calls him the fool, saying that it's because of justice that humanity put their faith in Ultraman. The two of them get into a beam struggle as the ship aims weapons at the defenseless hero, but he's not alone. The rest of the Ultramen block the attack with their own weapons, allowing Shinjiro to finish the job and destroy Ito and his spaceship for good. Ito lays there defeated on the ground, as he points out that as Shinjiro's power continues to grow, he'll be the one to enforce justice on the world. Even so, our hero says that he'll continue to stay on the right path, and that's all he can do at the moment. Our villain disintegrates into nothingness, his final words being that he'll watch over Shinjiro to see if that is ultimately true. In the epilogue, Shin and Ide agree that it's time to retire and leave the SSP to the new generation of heroes. Jack gets transferred over to Japan permanently and works alongside Taro, while MOROBOSHI has been promoted to new captain of the SSP. Reina and Seiji now hang out together as Reina still talks frequently with Shinjiro as he now travels the world protecting it as Ultraman and wait, where did you get that cape? There's one final scene after the credits roll where Zrob talks to Maya, the princess from the last season, in a bar, where Valkyria crashes the body as well. Then Agent Adad comes in, asking if this is a reunion and telling them about the council having a special proposition for them. Valkyria wants to hear it, but she gets into an argument with Zrob and Maya over it. Then Adad turns to the camera, speaking to the audience that this will never be over, as long as there's an Ultraman on Earth. Huh. Normally the heroes would post something like this as an end credit scene, but I'll take it. And what are the final words of this whole show?
Meat on a stick.
With that, we end Ultraman for good. Ultraman, the Netflix anime, is okay. It's nothing too special. It's its own thing, taking inspiration from the manga, but apparently going into an entirely different direction with it. It's admittedly an interesting approach to the whole franchise's main premise of a giant of light coming down from space and stopping a bunch of kaiju. Once that alien leaves, then what follows after is something that should be analyzed and examined. Dealing with intergalactic politics, handling lesser-known threats, and seeing people's response to a hero like Ultraman. It's that core concept that is worth analyzing and makes this universe unique despite all of its faults. The main story is a bit basic, with a lot of its plot twists either being predictable or not delivered correctly. A part of that is due to the editing. You may not have noticed it when I was narrating, but there are lots of cuts to different scenes, constantly jumping all over the place, especially towards the final season. It tries to build up the tension in some areas like someone getting attacked, but then it cuts away to something entirely different and interrupts the flow as it goes back to the same scene with the time never passing. It's disjointed and doesn't leave the audience with much faith. It's like the show itself doesn't think you'll be engaged in something, so they jump to something else. But it just ruins your enjoyment of the whole thing. The editing also lingers on shots at times, not translating well from the manga. Like this scene where MOROBOSHI is conveying a threat to Shinjiro with just a glare. It should be a humorous scene, but because of the editing and the camera work, it doesn't provide the fast punch needed for the joke to fully work. And considering that this show's humor relies more on the characters' personalities more than anything, editing is something that should not be overlooked. The overall structure of the show is odd as well. The first season focuses primarily on Shinjiro and his journey to become the true Ultraman, meeting a few more characters along the way. The third season as well is a culmination of those ideals and friendships as well into one single arc. The second season, however, is the odd one out. In terms of the overall story, the second season is just one arc, the shortest of the seasons. And while though Shinjiro is present, he doesn't have any focus at all. Really, the only purpose of the second season is to introduce Kotaro, the only new character for the audience, while showing a few established characters in the Ultraman forms that will be important for the last season. It feels like season 2 is just one movie broken out over 6 episodes. Not that it's a detriment, it's just something to be noted. The art style, I actually like it. It took me a while to get used to the 3D art style, but I enjoyed it and thought it added to the combat, which I will talk about in a moment. It has a sense of cheapness to it, like something out of SFM, but at the same time, it does convey the original character designs pretty well, and the Ultraman and the aliens look exceptional. Plus, it does convey the sense of scale between the humans and the giants, something that many shows do have trouble with. Where this show really excels is in its combat. Though there's a lack of an appropriate BGM accompanying the fights, I believe it does have its own energy. You see, though the Ultraman do have powers to them, a lot of the franchise's main combat does come from hand-to-hand combat, more wrestling than anything. And in this anime, they capture that same old-school energy, doing more than the basic punches with some of the heroes being more agile, using their environment, others wielding weapons, and even some actual fighting techniques as well. The show even takes full advantage of the premise and its rating, physically showing the gore and blood that comes from destroying monsters. It's not like the original show where sparks fly and boom, it's over. No, there's a sense of realism to the fights, and that's something that I enjoy out of this. Now let's get to the characters. What little we get of them, anyway, as most of the show is about the action. The villains, they're all boring. And yeah, I'm sorry, I really don't care about the kissy face aliens. Just makes me feel weird to watch. All their motivations are paper thin, either being evil for evil's sakes, or being completely fine with dying, because this is all part of a big master plan that never gets really revealed. Ito is probably the most complex one in the show, being a manipulator behind the scenes and trying to get Shinjiro to become a real Ultraman for the sole purpose of taking him down. But we didn't see this show play a lot with the intrigue, so it's not a big shock to see him turn. I like his slow voice though, that's cool.
Don't you think so too, Shinjiro?
Formula kind of counts for the villains, but it's clear pretty early on that he's working for the good guys. Even so, he doesn't have much going for him either. He's there to be mysterious, stare at people, and then leave like a walking plot device. We have zero character, zero explanation as to who he is. The closest thing we get of his character is in his final moments in the show, where he sacrifices himself, saying that he cares for humanity. But again, we have no real indication as to why he would care, so his sacrifice doesn't hit in the end. Even with his relationship to Shin, how they had a rivalry back in the day apparently, none of that is shown on screen, so none of that really matters. Speaking of Shin, let's switch over to the heroes, shall we? Shin Hayata is boring as well. He's the main crux of the story and why Shinjiro has his powers, but there's nothing really much about him. He's shown to care about his son and is frustrated sometimes by how his body changed because of Ultraman, but not too much of that is expanded on. His ending here, retiring from the SSP, could have been more impactful if Shin's arc actually focused on him passing his wisdom to the next generation. Maybe have a scene where he admits that he likes being Ultraman, or that he doesn't remember much about his time as the original one, so he wants to fight to ensure that he actually contributes to the SSP, neglecting his son as a result. That is sort of hinted at the beginning, but again, never expanded on. Jack is Jack. He is an informant, a tough street baller, and well, that's it. Nothing of value to know for him. No arc, no nothing. Even how he shows up in the last season makes him feel like an afterthought. Plus, personally, his Ultraman design is my least favorite of the team. Its only feature is being big and muscular like a Hulkbuster, but nothing else that's distinct. Kotaro's story primarily takes up season 2 because we actually see his origin as an Ultraman. His origin takes a lot of inspiration from the classic superheroes, you know, science experiment going wrong, girlfriend dies to show him consequences for his actions, photojournalist with a heart of gold. All throughout season 2, he's shown to be a bit reckless, diving in headfirst into situations without thinking of the consequences, basically being a terrible boyfriend. At the end of season 2, though he knows he'll die if he attempts to overload the robot's core, he plans on doing it anyway, not caring about it, the consequences. He's given the choice on if he wants to become an Ultraman again, and he thinks about it carefully this time, agreeing to do it. We do see him slow down even more for season 3. A guy who dives headfirst into looking into facts for the truth, now hesitant to believe all the evidence when it comes to Ultraman being a killer. He believes in Shinjiro's good nature at first, letting his fists say everything that needs to be, and gathering all the facts before making a move. Though I disliked him in the beginning for how generic he seemed, I ended up liking him in the end. Seiji is easily one of my favorites out of the Ultramen. He's got the most tragic backstory of the cast, having lost all of his limbs and his parents at a young age, and then being taken in by Yapur, a random alien mechanic that becomes true family to him. He became an Ultraman not out of a sense of revenge, not totally, but rather he knows the harsh realities of the world and wants to stop those who would hurt his friends or family. At first he sees himself as the real Ultraman, full of energy but willing to get the hard things done, but that belief quickly goes on the wayside once he sees Shinjiro's resolve. He's smart and cunning, always one step ahead, but at the same time charming with a carefree attitude that makes him so likable. He's friendly despite spending most of the series on his own. He's like his power, a completely roundabout kind of guy. He's the one character from start to finish that I absolutely loved. MOROBOSHI doesn't get any arc or character development, but he's just so cool that you don't really care. Almost in every scene, no matter what he does, he just drips swagger. He is the serious one. Like his katana, he knows exactly what he wants, cutting through whatever is in his goal. His mentorship with Shinjiro is the most interesting dynamic the show has, comparing his militaristic and professional attitude, trying to train the more idealistic beginner that is Shinjiro. MOROBOSHI is the one who constantly berates Shinjiro whenever he messes up, especially when Shinjiro hesitates on what to do next. In the beginning, MOROBOSHI is the one who usually volunteers to do the work, not wanting Shinjiro to go in. This could be interpreted as if either him wanting to get the job done more efficiently, but could also be seen as a form of kindness, not wanting to have a kid risk his life in this manner, if he can avoid it. At the same time, once Shinjiro proves himself, MOROBOSHI doesn't mince words anymore, and treats him like any agent rather than just a kid. Though the two of them don't get too many scenes together discussing this, they do share a father-son relationship, more than Shinjiro's relationship with his actual father. It's really touching in a few places, and I wished this was explored a bit more. Now let's go to Reina. She has the most story material next to Shinjiro, having her own career and life before becoming an Ultraman in season 3. Well, in the beginning her character was generic, being the love interest and that's it. Due to her backstory, we knew she hated Ultraman, but how it's presented is such a strange and out of nowhere fact about her that it didn't really change in my opinion of her at all. Neither was her relationship with her father, which seemed to be used to justify having a known police officer in the story. Season 3 is where she really developed into a likable character, not from a backstory transition into becoming an Ultraman, but rather she actually gets some personality to her. Being all excited like a little kid exploring the alien district, finding her own strength to be a person she can love, and finding a genuine friend in Seiji. She feels more like an actual person than just a love interest. And now to Shinjiro. Shinjiro is a generic main character, being a young teenager with superpowers who has secret identity shenanigans. Though he doesn't get any real character outside of his hero stuff, with his only real connection to his civilian life being with Reina, where he has a crush on her and awkwardly stumbles his words around her, kinda like how I'm trying to record all this. Nothing too endearing, there's nothing wrong with him. He's obviously a good guy, has qualms about hurting kaiju, there's just nothing too exceptional about him. But I will say that his overall story is the reason why there's more that adds to his character. You see, Shinjiro led a life of hiding his powers, keeping his strength in check of fear of hurting others. When he learns about the legacy of Ultraman, Shinjiro tries to become that hero, but unlike his father, he only focused on saving people, not harming living creatures or killing them, which is why he limits his strength most of the time and has to be supported by others. But by the end of the first season, he realizes that in order to save people, he can't hold back from harming those who deserve it, becoming a hero in his own right. Then season Season 3 focuses and dissects that concept a bit more. Shinjiro's strength greatly increases, and rather than focusing on trying to hold it in, he is forced into scenarios where he loses control of his emotions and ends up doing more harm than good. With his father gone and everyone in the world seemingly turning against him, Shinjiro feels he has to solve this situation on his own and runs away from the SSP. But out there alone, he realizes that he's not alone. He gets his strength from the people around him, from the crowd chanting his name to stand tall and fight. It's why Shinjiro's conclusion makes sense in the end of him traveling the world. He's not Ultraman to just save people. As Ultraman, he represents all of Earth, as Earth is being forced into this overall conflict to side with the Council. It's what Ito is trying to stop, humanity siding with Ultraman. The justice that Ultraman enforces is one where he tries to save as many people as he can. That is the justice Shinjiro wants for humanity. And though I don't know much about this franchise, I can honestly say that the message here is something all Ultraman care about. From this show, though we're small, we can end up becoming a true beacon of light for the world to shine into space. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the new Ultraman movie on Netflix now, and I hope to see you all next time. Take care.